Yes, there is a very yet another profound instantiation of interconnectedness is quantum entanglement. You might have heard of quantum entanglement. It is the non-local effect in which imagine two particles, they are related no matter the distance. In a, they have done experiments, but the conclusion was on a quantum level, that is the most minute and small level of reality, physical reality, there exists an intertwined and interconnected connection that doesn't require time to connect. For example, if a particle here is connected somehow within a physical system, they have experiments to show that. If you sort of put one other the two particles are connected, you're going to select one of them and throw it into another galaxy. If you change the state of one particle here, the other particle is receiving the same change, regardless of time and space. They have a sort of consciousness to each other. Okay, and it's like a coin. If you flip a coin here, we have two coins. Okay, if they're connected. If you flip one here and it is on one particular side, head or tail, let's say it is head. If you throw the other galaxy and that other coin in the other galaxy gets the head, if it is head here. If it is tail here, the other one gets the tail. This is, in brief, quantum entanglement. On a quantum level, things are entangled. Entanglement is like this, connected. How? Nobody has an idea. It just observed. Which is what it is not difficult for God to be aware of everything because this seemingly trivial quantum particle is aware in a sense, or is connected beyond time and space in the same instant to another one in somewhere very distant in the universe. Okay, there are many other
I think
examples.
they,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think they are same similar.
Then Bismillah, exactly. We could look at it from
Yeah.
this spiritual lens. But how would they look at it? They still don't have a physical model to explain, but they have gotten the data. But they don't know how to put it into their metaphysical structure or paradigm. There is one of the revolutionary books written in the 20th century is the structure of the scientific revolution. The structure of the scientific revolution. In this book, it pointed out to changes happening within the paradigms of science. So we have the Newtonian physics as well as the Einsteinian physics, the classical physics and the modern physics. Okay? They don't seem to explain the same things, although both true, but both opposite at the same time. Okay? There is a shift, a change in paradigm. A paradigm is basically the way you look at the world. On a quantum level, it is different. There is no determinacy. Things are not determined on a quantum level. There's this state of quantum indeterminacy. But on the classical Newtonian level, everything is determined.
Cause and effect.
You see what I mean? So they're talking about two different levels or two different layers of physicality that they seem to contradict if you look at it one way. But they're actually talking about two different realities. There are some people talking about contradictions in the Quran. They're not contradictions. They're talking about different people and different levels of reality. Okay, so in this book, he says if there is a phenomenon in the physical world that your explanatory structure cannot capture it, you can so science as we have now, it cannot capture consciousness. It can talk about the movement, but cannot know what it is. So it is exploring a different, more broadened structure or paradigm to account for this phenomenon of nature that is the basic, raw, primitive phenomenon of nature. So what I'm saying is we have this quantum entanglement that may force the physicists to change and abandon their current model and adopt a new one that has more explanatory power. You see, maybe one day the scientific method will come back to religion. That is, we cannot explain reality given all the complexity. We have to insert God as the foundation of everything to complete the scientific method. Are you following where I'm going?
To some degree.
Yeah, I mean, I've taken courses and read books about it. They're just little, we call it extrapolations that we
Mm.
need to have in order to look at science from a religious perspective. All right, Mr. Muhammad, go for read that as well. Continue reading.
Okay. Third mystery. Divine mercy causes the universe to rejoice. It gives the spark of light and life to dark entities, and nurtures and raises up creatures struggling with their endless needs. It causes the universe to be directed toward humanity, just as a tree is directed toward its fruit, and to hasten to our assistance.
So what he's basically saying is the world is meaning infused. That is very interesting. That's no joke. I mean, there are books written about these sentences here. Okay, it causes the universe to be directed to humanity. Everything that are particulars in the universe. So universe is the accumulation of all the particular things. Okay, so we have trees, dogs, animals, galaxies. The amalgamation of all of it is called the universe. There's nothing out there that is a universe. Universe is a mental category. Okay, we have particular things. Universe is a mental categorical unity that we give it to the reality out there. So basically, let me simplify it a little bit more. There are two interesting books written in the 20th century. One is Time and Being by Heidegger, Martin Heidegger, the German philosopher. It is a long, very laborious, robust, and sophisticated book. Okay. The other is written by Gibson, which is called Affordance. Okay. So both of these two authors talk about two terms that parallel with Bediüzzaman Said Nursi's findings, and that is the term of readiness to hand. This is used by Heidegger. The other one is affordance. So basically, they both think that a human being, when we interact with a physical environment, we're not seeing objects. Right now, when I'm drinking or sipping the tea here, I'm not seeing the physicality, the physical characteristics of the cup. When I'm looking at the webcam in the laptop, I'm not looking or I'm not seeing the function, the materials of it. So nothing in the world we see we see it as material in the first glance. We always see it as the function of it. We see the meaning of it first, how it could be used. So now, when I look at this cup, I'm not seeing it unless I think about it that it is a roundish, glassish thing. Okay, I'm seeing it in its graspability. I can grasp it. I don't know. I have a chair right there. I'm not seeing the physical makeup of the chair in the first glance. So everything is infused with meaning. The meaning comes before the material aspect of the thing. The meaning, basically, the usage of it, how it is used, the telos. Why is it there? So it is there to be sat on. Everything else, we see a tree, we see the treeness of it before the physicality is made out of wood and stuff. Unless we take other steps and to theorize and to speculate. It is the same. It's true for a chair. It is something there to sit on. The same is true, I don't know, for a sofa, for a money we see. So we're seeing the worth of money before that this money is made out of this particular wood. Do we ever ask about the money, about the material of it or the usage of it? The first glance, the first interaction with the environment. This is called readiness to hand. Everything is ready to hand or for our perception to see it as being useful and meaningful. And Gibson is using affordance as well. So things appear in their meaning and function before in their materiality. And Bediüzzaman here says, it causes the universe to be directed to humanity. Everything is directed to our perception and helps us to navigate through the world. Is it making sense? Did you Were you following what I was saying?
Yeah, it was. It's new for me, and it's great actually.
Yeah, unless I was
I haven't
aware of
thought
this,
about it.
I wouldn't have appreciated that he time and time again talks about how everything is directed toward the service of humanity. Look at the air. Like the air, we don't see it as the particles present in the air. We actually see the air as a vehicle for us to breathe. We see the meaning of the air before the material components of it. And the same is true for everything in a sense.
Mm, yeah. Ahmed, what I see, the more knowledge you have, the deeper you can understand the text of this
Exactly.
book.
Exactly. That's why if you want to study religious texts or the Quran, an outside knowledge, which is not an outside knowledge, because when you study the laws of nature, as Badiou's said, they're the laws of God. They're the Sharia of the universe.
Yeah,
We're not going outside of God. It's all within God. Nothing is outside of Him in a sense.
that is true.
Okay, continue reading the highlighted one, sir.
Why do all entities gather around humanity with purpose and, sorry, can you scroll down? Uh, the opposite, scroll, and foresight and hasten to meet our needs with perfect orderliness and grace.
Okay, sorry. So why do
How
all
could,
entities? Go ahead. Did you read
okay,
the other part too?
no, no. How could, how could the all majestic one who causes all entities to turn toward you with their hands outstretched to help you, not know and see you?
Do you see the parallel? That all entities, it could be the tree, the things we're using, gather around humanity or the living things, he says in other places, with purpose and foresight. They have a purpose when they gather around us. And hasten means quickly going to meet our needs with perfect orderliness. Yes, I have a need to drink. I have a need to eat, right? I have a need to interact with the world. So they present to you. They are being like soldiers in service of us human beings. And how could the all majestic one who causes all entities to turn toward you? It's very interesting. It's all entities. They turn toward us with their hands outstretched to help you and not know and see you. So it's very interesting parallels here. Continue reading that as well.
Understand with conviction that divine mercy existing together with wisdom, knowledge, grace, and power subjects the universe to your service, even though you are a slight, transient, wholly feeble, powerless, and needy creature.
Yes, everything is in a sense in our service. Not only for our service, but it is in our service.
So basically, if you are just look around and see the ni'mats of gods, you cannot count them. As God mentioned in the Quran, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ
Yeah,
لَن تُحْصُوهَا. So
exactly.
it's all ni'mah.
We are now being immersed in God's munificence. Munificence means God's generosity and God's affluence and richness, and we call it divine effulgence. And ifaydi ilahi, okay? So God's like everything is being touched with God's effulgence, and blessings are all around us, as you say. Thank you. Yeah, but the religious question is yes, everything is seemingly serving each other. Okay, the air, the tree, the cup, the chair, the desk, everything, the mountains is serving life. It is conducive to life. Who causes it? Now it is the divergence between the religious and the naturalist thinking. They think either it is chance, randomness, or it is it itself causes itself. So they have different models to account for it, but they never appreciate that something is behind it, something is within it. It's not all God is behind everything and he's distant. No, he's at the same time within everything. Go ahead, Mr. Muhammad.
Our nature is comprehensive, as we are the weave's center and the divine name's focal point.
And if focal point is chucky now, can you go to the varagato?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Thus,
Thus, the stamp of divine oneness must be on everything, that is, through the concentrated manifestation of God's name on it. Each thing and species should display that is God who has created, sustains, and directed, so that multiplicity may not detract minds from seeing the pure and holy one in everything in the universe, and a way be opened up to the hearts to enable them to turn to and address him directly.
multiplicity means the different particular things. So there are many things out there, mountains, trees, colors, a lot of things, lots of things. They're called the multiplicity. Is there a unifying agent that doesn't let us be overwhelmed and be detracted from seeing the oneness of God? Because obviously, when we take God outside of it, things are too many to be bearable. They're overwhelming, to be honest. So we have relevant realization that is also used in AI. So we realize what is relevant in our environment. When I look here at the words, I'm not looking at the keyboard. I'm not looking at the, I don't know, the lamp close to me. I have to find the cues that are relevant and to realize that because things are too many in the world. There are multiple things. So, from a religious perspective, how can God interact with the multiple existent things? First, he's the one who created them, their material existence, and he's the one that sustains them. That is the efficient cause. I'm going to talk to you how Aristotle talked about a thing to exist. In this sentence, we have Aristotle's principles manifesting. So we have the material thing. Look at this cup. This is the material, the glass, the elements of it. The sustaining power, it needs to be a power. Aristotle will call it the sufficient cause. Okay. So this is the material, oh, sorry, the efficient cause. Okay. The one that has power to maintain it, to sustain it. Otherwise, it's collapsing, isn't it? It needs power to remain it like this. I need power to hold it, isn't it? After a while, I lose the power, and if I not put it down, it's gonna break. And the one that directs it, that is what is absent in modern science. Modern science doesn't think anything is directed anywhere. Okay. And how he does that through the names. He's not doing it from his essence directly. Through the names, coming from the essence, everything is receiving their createdness, their sustainability, and their directedness. Okay. Okay. In the coming next week, I'm going to explain to you the Aristotle's four causes: the sufficient, the material, the final, and the formal cause. These four causes. I'm going to explain them all.
Okay, inshallah.
Okay. Read that, sir.
Humanity has the all-merciful one's form, stressing our being a clear evidence of and perfect connection with all the merciful. Therefore, the
Okay.
more moderate and balanced believers in the unity of being said, there is no existent but
I reopened it. Okay.
clarity and the connection's perfection.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you, sir. Stressing our being a clear evidence of our being means the being as a human, not the material thing. We're talking about on a purely spiritual basis here. Being a clear evidence of and a perfect connection with the All Merciful. Therefore, the more moderate and balanced believers in the unity of being, that is Wahdat al-Wujud supporters, there is no existent but He. I mean, think about it. It is true. Nothing exists on its own. Everything is contingent, isn't it? So I'm contingent on the place that I'm sitting right now, isn't it? I'm contingent on my physical characteristics. If my vocal cord stops to exist, can I talk to you? Obviously not. So once we go back to this chain of contingency, we go back from one cause that this caused it. Okay, so the Earth is holding me here, but the Earth is circling in an orbit. Okay, and the solar system is circling around something else. So the chain of contingency, we cannot go into an infinite regress because I consulted with ChatGPT 4.5 that logically point to me the most necessary, inference, purely logic, without any person saying anything. on a pure logical reasoning that he has received and trained. Can we go back through the chain of causality into an infinite regress? He says this is logically the most impossible thing ever. This is the most illogical thing there is. So there must be a starting point that everything is receiving their causality and their contingency. And that thing, according to the most advanced, trained AI model, is what the religious people call Allah or God or Yahweh. So purely on a basic reasoning, okay, the most logical outcome is everything is dependent on a necessary being. That is Ibn Sina's argument, and that is what has been reached as the agreement of all places and times as the most coherent logical argument from contingency. Where did it make sense? Because there are some technical words there. Contingent means dependent. This thing depends on
Yeah,
the other thing.
it makes sense. I have a question actually. If you are you finished in your delivering what you are saying?
For now, yes.
Okay. I have a question. So, according to the logic, according uh, to uh, to what you are saying, so everything has a cause, and there must be a starting point. So, what do you know? What do you think the scientists say to this? What other explanation they have?
They think infinite regress is not a problem. This is one way they go about it.
Mm,
But obviously,
really?
yeah, they think we can go into an infinite regress. But some of them are obviously blatantly rejected. Some of them posit the multiverse universe, the multiverse. That is an
Mm,
infinite amount of universes that the conditions are set for life are because of the infinite possibilities that one possibility was actualized. Other than that, according to what I consulted to the most trained system in logic, driving from Leibniz in France, a Christian, from Ibn Sina and Imam Ghazali, and modern Kalam thinkers like William Lane Craig and many others, he said this is the most logical, most coherent. The other ones, they have some coherence, but they lack in the explanatory power. But this is obviously, we reach to the realization that there is a necessary being that every other little beings with small letter b depends. But then it's just the taste, the experience. We're not getting it from logic. Logic gets you to the door, in front of the door, that there is a necessary being.
yeah. I think
Obviously, yeah.
scientists they are trying to have an explanation for that starting point. I think Loris Krauss has a book that its name is
Quantum fluidity.
something from nothing, something like that.
Yeah, I
And
know, I
he's
know.
trying to explain that from nothing uh, comes out something. And there are many criticisms to his book because it's not science, it's just, I think, made
Yeah,
up
yeah.
thing.
I mean, basically, there are many criticisms because anything that begins to exist has a cause. This is the most scientific data.
That is true.
There is no exception. Anything that begins to exist, not anything that exists. You see the difference? Okay, God
Yeah,
exists, but he didn't begin to exist.
yeah,
If we
yeah.
say,
It's
okay,
Imam Ghazali correction, I
yes,
think.
this is the correction, yes. So, yeah, it has a cause and it needs a cause. It's more than just has a cause. It needs a cause. There's no other way. And the cause of
That is
all
true.
causes is the necessary being, wajib al-wujud. And if anything that begins to exist, it could not have existed, which is a probability. If it because it exists, it began to exist, it could not have existed. Okay, the thing, nothing is a wajib al-wujud. Nothing is a necessary thing. Everything is contingent.
That is true. Let's continue.
Okay, read here.
Everyone seems to him to be an enemy and a foreigner. He has awful visions of corpses and orphans, and his soul is plunged into torment.
He's talking about atheists and disbelievers that they see people as enemy and a foreigner. Imagine Slavoj Žižek. I was listening to him the other month, a few months ago. He would say the most thing, the person that I hate the most is university students. He's a university professor. Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear it.
Okay. Yeah. And we have John Paul Sartre that says hell is other people. Basically, people don't become that lovable. The basis of love is God. When we want to love God and other human beings and createdness, it has to come and emanate from God. And we have a lot of artists that have all sorts of all over the place arts, and paintings, and sculptures that are really ugly. Don't you think they're reflections of their own psyche and psychic processes? A believer never comes to create an
Yeah,
art that's
compared to the
ugly.
classic ones, there's
Yeah,
a
very,
huge
very ugly.
difference.
Yeah, it's a pain and corpses. You see, it's
It's just chaos.
very chaotic. Yes. Then continue.
When he ret sorry, when he returns after some while, he meets the other man, understands his situation, and says, "You have become crazy. The bad and ugly things you see come from and reflect your inner world. You imagine laughter to be weeping, and discharge from duties to be sack and pillage. Come to your senses and clean your heart so that it's what is that word?
Inauspicious means
Inauspicious.
not useful.
Inauspicious. Okay. This inauspicious veil will be raised from your eyes and you may see the truth.
So he's not talking about a particular argument. He's talking about veils that have come onto the hearts of humans. That's why they don't see the truth. So look at his approach. It's not about this logical argument is going to convince the other, and the other person is going to see the world as God's manifestation. No, no, it's not like that. It doesn't work like this. So the inner world, so the bad and ugly things you see from the world, you see God is unjust, the world is evil. Like Schopenhauer said, the world is metaphysically evil. It just reflects the inner world, not an outside objective reality. That's why we say the world is malleable. According to the degree of the elevation of the soul, the world appears itself. You see what I mean? So it's just a matter of the internal organization or the tazkiyah that should be there so that the world is looked at the way that God wants to look at it from God's perspective. That is the metaphysical Sufi tradition that have derived their findings from the Quran and in the Western tradition from the scripture. Okay, continue.
Who sees this world as a place of general mourning, mourning,
Morning wada
uh,
shinu shapor.
uh,
Kasi
okay,
kasi
general
kibere morning.
mourning,
Well, morning. It's the same pronunciation
okay,
as morning, like we have morning.
okay. All living things as weeping orphans due to the pain of separation and decay, people and animals as lonely as uncivilized creatures cut down by death, and great masses, mountains and oceans, as terrible
Corpses.
corpses without souls. His unbelief and his misguidance breed great anxieties that torture him.
That's why we shouldn't judge people who are away from God. This is how they live. They see the world as a place of weeping. Mourning means weeping. All things, all living things, as weeping orphans. Imagine the little cat that loses the mother, right? You cannot make sense of it unless you're a religious person. They're orphans because of separation and everything is decaying. And people and animals, they are lonely, right? Because ultimately they're going to depart. And the mountains that supposedly be a source of inspiration and beauty become as corpses. You become afraid of the scene of the mountain, even. So
Yeah,
it's just the unbelief and the misguidance creating anxieties and fear. And that's why if religion is not there, the alternative is not good for the soul. This is
yeah,
the logical conclusion that many people drunk themselves. They don't feel that because they're all the time drunk. But if they're to their senses, what else would they see? Read Schopenhauer. This is the prime example of everything he says here is true. Schopenhauer is a dangerous philosopher. If you're not ready in faith, you're gonna hate life. Really, you're gonna hate everything because he says everything is in continual fight. Look at the backyard; everything is killing each other. He's true in a sense.
Mm,
What appears, it is true, but deep down, it is not what things are.
that
On
is
a
true.
level, he's true. So the religious
And
truths
of
are
course,
really,
remember,
huh?
um, these texts come from a guy that has been intoxicated many times, more than 15 times, and he has lived his life in solitary confinement, and
Uh,
he has lived alone for many years, and he has uh, no family, no relatives. All of his family and friends died.
yes,
He
yes,
lived alone, and yet he sees the world beautiful.
yeah.
And
This is a message for all humanity.
yeah,
Because if any of us was in his shoes, imagine how else we would have turned out to be.
yeah, that is true. It's his. It's all about inner peace and
Yeah, yeah.
uh, inner light.
From Sharia, not
Yeah,
independently.
yeah.
Okay.
For this world needs a new generation to populate and work in it.
This is a reflection on death. Imagine a person dies. Imagine in Kut yesterday, 69 people died. Maybe tragically, they were burned alive, you see. And he's talking about a verse. I think he got this from a verse that he doesn't mention it here. There's a verse, I have forgotten the Arabic one, but the English goes like this: God abrogates his verses and bring newer and better ones into it. Abrogation means nasakh, la burden. And the traditional exegetes understand this as God has taken away some verses in the Quran, but it's not like this. Because in the Quran, God talks about everything as a verse. Like he takes out verses, means humans, it could be animals, anything, and brings in their replacement better and other creatures. That's all God's doing all along. So when a person dies, the world needs a new generation to populate and work in it. So you're accepting it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. It's just go through them in the
It's
4 minutes.
just the matter. I think it's just the matter of how you see it.
How we see it from the lens of the Quran, because that's what gives
Yeah,
it substance. If you see the same sentence said by a philosopher, it doesn't have the same amount of weight. You see, that's the
that is
difference
true.
between one of the differences between revelation and another normal human speech. Putting
Okay. Putting his trust in and fully submitting to God, he resists evil. His belief gives him complete confidence.
Yeah, I mean, you fully put trust in God. And as a result, one of the fruits of submission, Islam, is a resistance to evil. When evil comes and tempts you, you resist it. See, that's a huge, deep note to take into account. Yeah, so Miss Maria, traditionally, the verse in the Quran about Naskh that got abrogated, Naskh certain verses, it is seen as the verses in the Quran. It is not seen as the world as being verses and continually being abrogated and naskhed. You see what I mean? Okay, Mr. Muhammad, continue. So it has both meanings. It could be both. I'm not saying the other one is the true meaning. Both meanings are contained in the verse.
If the earth were to explode, those servants of God with truly illuminated hearts would not frighten. They might even consider it a marvel of eternally bestowed one's power.
Besought ones. Beseech is the present. Besought is the past participle. Means everything is beseeching, is begging God. Okay, and yeah, I mean, even the earthquakes for a believer, you can see God's power in it, as opposed to the nature is evil and it's trying to destroy humanity. The same data, different interpretations. Until the 2 minutes, just continue reading. Let me see if I highlighted anything here. The fifth word, surely God is with those who refrain from disobeying him in awe of him and who do good deeds. Okay, that's a very profound verse that you can reflect it later. In the 1 minute, read that, and I think that would be enough for today. We will continue.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to make a recording to finish up until page 50. Then we're going to continue from page 50 to page 100.
Okay, inshallah. Trees with animals in order to understand that the procurement of fundamental lawful food depends on neediness and im impotence
Impotence.
rather than power and will.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is weird, isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, when you show your neediness, that's where you receive, not when you show your power. You say, I have a will, God. I'm going to fight with you. I'm going to struggle with you. No, no, that's not how our treatment with God should be. Never. Procurement means
And
buying, getting. Yes.
Said Nursi has given up an example, as you can see in the upper part. The weakest and simplest animals are the
Yeah.
best feds, like fish and worms in food. In fruit.
And human babies too.
Imagine a worm living on a tree, and he's living his life because
Yes.
everything is food to him,
Sure.
and he can fully live without any hunger.
Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful. Thank you. So now we've come to a halt. We could call it a beautiful day on Juma Mubarak again.
Okay,
And we'll continue
but
for next
before
week.
we finish, I think Miss Maria has a question.
What was it? I didn't see it. Sorry.
Yeah.
But بس رنگ داب خطا بس آرا سنگی بکرام جو حين نك داب خطا بس لكن اوكي ثم سلوك تمام maybe the verse was important